wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but it looks like there's a lot of people on here, so it's great. Thanks, Dr. Foster. So we will start with some of the, should we do an introduction of everyone? I know it's probably hard over a Zoom call. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to set this up. Okay, I'm having trouble pulling everybody up, but I can see the majority of you. Well, maybe we'll just skip the introduction part. It's a lot easier in person to do that. So we'll go ahead and start with personnel reports, if that's okay with you. Darla, I believe you have one typed up that everybody has in their email, but as well, we have the live version. Sorry. Darla, do you want to give your report? Do you want me to go through the one that you sent out?
So, I'm up there. A lot of great
Darla, I can't hear you very well. I don't know if anyone else is having those issues.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm trying to see if it was my side.
Okay, is that better now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So great. So apologies for that. Since we last talked in October when we were up in Williamsport, a lot has been transpiring with the tax situation, trying to figure out where we were at with that. And the big revelation came when we figured out that the tax amendments that we were trying to file, that we figured out we had to file the lobbyist proxy tax, they were filed in the wrong calendar years. So I spent a good chunk of October and November working with Boyer and Ritter to make sure that those were squared away in the correct fiscal year. The problem is, if you've ever tried to call the IRS, you sit on hold for 2 to 3 hours. So I played that game for a couple of weeks, trying to start it during my prep period and just having them on hold while you were teaching, and enough was enough. So you can see in my notes there that I did sign the power of attorney over to Boyer and Ritter so that they could sit on the phone on hold on our behalf to file the correct amendments in the correct year. So that was finally taken care of at the end of November, the beginning of December. And then just like the IRS, it takes 6 to 8 weeks until you hear a response for anything that it's been done correctly. So time went by, and then at the end of December, beginning of January, we received notifications for what the failure to file penalties were for fiscal year 16 and then fiscal year 18. So we had the final penalties that were provided to us. It came out to probably about like $1,000 like per fiscal year. So the board decided in January to move forward and to write an abatement letter so we would be excused from those failure to file penalties. And that letter was submitted on January 10th during Farm Show Week. Just received notification a couple of weeks ago that they received our abatement letter, and we will sit another 6 to 8 weeks waiting on their response for that. Still, in the meantime, we are still waiting for a response to know what our failure to file penalties for 2015 and 2017 are. So I don't think it's going to move in any direction quickly with the current situation that we're in. But we have done everything that we physically can to make sure that we have stopped the clock ticking on interest that we would actually be paying, since we're not up to date with our payments. And at this point, it is in the IRS, their jurisdiction. So again, abatement letter was filed, and then we're still waiting for 2 more tax periods to figure out what we need to pay for that. Looking at our budget, since we didn't pay an executive secretary for this year, in my head, when we do get like those final numbers, we would use what we would have paid for the executive secretary this year to cover what those failure to file penalties are. And then we wash our hands of it. We know the correct logistics if we employ a lobbyist moving forward, so we don't find ourselves in this situation again. So that's the majority of where my time has been being spent. You'll also see a couple of different meetings and conferences that I attended and represented on PAAE's behalf. Probably like the most unique one was the 3 Circle Summit out in Indianapolis. So just getting all the state leaders together and kind of hear from a national perspective what things are coming down the road, what we should be preparing for. Unfortunately, digital and remote learning was not one of those tasks. But other than that, the board has been working very, very cohesively. VPs have been stepping in to fill in what the executive secretaries would have usually been doing. And you'll see at the end of my report, we did put together kind of like a shortened posting for that executive secretary position. No duties have been removed from it. It's just been formatted to fit on less sheets of paper so people aren't scared at the length of the job posting. So if you know of interested individuals that would be interested in applying, I know for sure we will have applications submitted by that May 29th deadline. So we should have this position filled for the beginning of next school year, hopefully having someone on board September 1, conducting interviews prior to our conference date, and then getting them on board with a signed contract late summer, early fall. So I'd be happy to answer any questions of things that I just went over. I'll hang on the meeting as long as you would like to talk after this. But I tried to spell everything out in fairly explicit terms in that report so you can be as transparent and in the know as we can. So with that, I will turn it back over to Hannah.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat box as well. So if there's any questions that pop up or anybody wants us to talk, just let me know. I did see that we are recording this meeting. So just so everybody knows, you're being recorded at this time. And that's probably just so we have a record of what we talked about and everything. Make it a little bit easier. So I do not see Diana on here. Diana, are you on here by chance and I missed you? Okay, so she has her past president's report. It looks like January and February she was assisting with most of the scoring of PAAE and NAAE award applications. March 11th, she attended a 2-hour webinar because they are updating the PA science standards. And she's got a whole paragraph there. She said that there is a survey link if you would like to contribute to that. She would like everyone to consider K-12 and that case be a possible resource since it's a reference with those standards. They also talked about collaborative activities, and then she has updating NAAE conference information there for 2020 and 2021 if you're interested so that you can plan appropriately. Okay, otherwise we'll turn it over to Ms. Casey Rice.
All right, and I'll maybe start with a dessert. Some of you are probably in the same boat as I am with kids, so hopefully you can hear me well enough and they're not too rowdy in the background. But with my report, you can kind of go through. I don't necessarily want to go through everything that's in there, but I listed items from January, February, and March here. February was pretty busy. We had a CDE committee meeting to start, looking at things for this coming year, and a lot of what we discussed at that meeting is kind of moot now. We actually had another meeting just yesterday as a CDE committee, and we'll get to that maybe in a minute, and I'll maybe let Mr. Brammer talk about a lot of that stuff here if he's on here, or we can share some of the things that we're talking about. The GLAG 20 conference, I know a lot of other teachers participated in that. I think that's a very valuable professional development opportunity. I've done it a couple times and I think it's fabulous. So kudos to Melanie and Dr. Foster for putting that on. I also participated in the State of Ag Ed webinar that Darla did, and I think that's going to be a nice thing to maybe do in the future and keep doing those types of collaborative presentations for members and others alike to kind of stay on top of things and know what's going on in each of the prospective organizations. And then for March, I also, as president-elect, served as the representative for the FFA Association board meeting. So we were at Penn State on March 6th for that. Had a lot of good discussions about a lot of things. One, we talked about, how to change up things with CDs and LDs, especially along lines of public speaking, and what we could do with that in the future. I know there's been a lot of discussion. We switched that from 1 day to 2 days. We've also now been talking about maybe moving it away from state convention. But again, a lot of that discussion from the beginning of March is a lot of moot information now with our whole COVID-19 situation, which we did discuss at that meeting. And we've been having weekly board meetings every Friday here via Zoom. So I've been Zooming pretty much, I'm sure as most of you have been, pretty much every day, all day. But the board meets again tomorrow at 8 a.m. to kind of make some, I think, final decisions in regards to what we're going to see with the future with the state association. So like I said, the CD committee met yesterday, board meets again tomorrow. So I'm kind of going to hold off unless Mr. Brammer's on here and he wants to say anything until after the board meeting tomorrow to share some of that stuff till we kind of have some final decisions on what we're going to be doing. And I also did participate in the PD Pennsylvania Science Standards meeting or session that was on March 11th with Diana, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And there was a survey to kind of include our feedback and what we can contribute to those science standards from an ag perspective. And I'm going to check on my children with that, and I'll come back for my membership report in a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much. We will come back to the membership report whenever Casey is sure that nothing's going on crazy at her house. So I don't see that Mr. Campbell is on. If he is, go ahead and give me a shout out. But otherwise, I'll go through his report. He did attach, and it's in the appendix part, the profit and loss for as of July 1, 2019 to March 28th, 2020. And he said totals are looking really good. Membership is complete. We have 107 PAAE, 93 NAAE. The only uncertain thing that he said is, of course, the, well, awesome, that's right there, is the amount that we're going to owe IRS for the confusion. But Darla already talked about that and said that we're working on that already. The account totals as of March 28th, once again, totals are looking good. He said scholarship may be dissolved and deposited into savings based on changes announced by M&T Bank. So that it looks like there's some changes there. So it won't be, it may get moved around, basically. But everyone has that attached list. Are there any questions, concerns? I'm not sure if I can answer them, but I'm sure somebody can. Okay, with that, I believe we're on to the SAE Specialist Report, Ms. Carol Fagg.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I submitted a report, and probably Darla is going to scroll to it, I'm assuming. I've been pretty busy doing American degrees. At this point, we have 63 total American degrees that the committee and I are reviewing. We have actually submitted 25 to National FFA already. They have not started reviewing at least ours that I have seen. If you come across anybody who graduated in 2017 and wants to apply for the American degree, this is their last year. So send me an email and I can help you work through that, and we can get them submitted. Yesterday, I did an SAE for all with the South Central region. And there were some people who, I advertised it on my Facebook page, on my SAE Facebook page, and a few other people hopped in, and it was pretty awesome. So the first, we actually did 2 hours. The first hour we did on SAE for all, and then the second hour was answering AET questions. So that was pretty successful. People popped in and out, and that was the intent, and that was pretty awesome. Darla, if you could scroll down just a little bit. There's some farm show updates in my report that I need to change because of the economic, issues with the virus and so forth. Department 29, we had looked at, Carol Richwine was looking to secure some sponsorship for the landscape exhibits and do some significant premium updates there. But we're going to put that off until next year, not this coming farm show, but the next year. And then if you'll scroll down a little bit more, Department 35 is continuing. Jesse Brandt has worked on some rubrics along with his students, and those will be posted soon on the PAFFA website. Joe Luther had proposed a new event, a live hardscape competition. And I haven't heard from Joe, but I'm assuming that that's going to be put on hold. Farm Show is in favor of it. They're excited about offering that opportunity to our horticulture kids. But I'm assuming because of, again, the sponsorship deal, they'll probably wait another year, but stay tuned for that. I'm working on some videos. Some people have asked me for like market livestock videos and breeding manager videos and those kind of things. So some how-to videos, and those are actually already uploaded to paffa.org/association under the SAE box. If your kids have questions about how to do AET or anything about record keeping, there are some videos there that will be helpful. And I'm actually scheduling with teachers to do some Zoom, either with students or the teacher and I are recording and then making that available to their kids. So if any of you need help with anything SAE wise, shoot me an email or give me a call and we can set that up.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so next on our list is Penn State.
Give me 1 second. I was just gathering a couple of resources here. Actually, Dr. Foster, did you want to start us off? And I can wrap up.
Beth is the voice for us in this committee meeting. I am pleased to see y'all here and joining you and being able to enjoy a cold beer from my home while I watch and listen and see that Pennsylvania ag education is advancing well in spite of this. I will share a fun thing that happened today for those of you who are interested. We did our first ever parliamentary power hour and had about 48 teachers from across the nation log on and talk and share about some parliamentary procedure things. So if you're interested in those kind of things, we can do that and continue to build and go forward. So just know, I think the most important message as we look at times of uncertainty and quite frankly, what might be extended times of uncertainty is the notion that we are here for you. And so if you can take the time to actually frame the requests, email and ask, I know that we're committed to busting tail to seeing what we can do to help you. We can't help with everything, but there's definitely some things we can help on. And yeah, we've been trying to make sure that we can present to you, like we've had a lot of teachers express that perhaps they have some remote teaching or online teaching needs. Maybe there's something there we can help you with, but what we know that we're not going to do is just shovel things out at you that adds on to your plate of that you don't want. But we can dang sure be responsive if you call out and ask for it. And so I have to keep reminding you that we're here and want to help when you ask. So Beth, it's all you.
Sure, and I'm going to piggyback on what Dr. Foster was saying there. We have created just a quick Google form that I'm going to put the link here in the chat box. It'll also be in the newsletter. If you have any questions, concerns, we encourage you to fill out that form. Like I said, we're here to help give you guys some questions or give you guys some support there. And also in the form, we're playing with the idea of doing some discussion-based webinars, kind of like what NC State is doing around various content areas, curricular topics. And so on that form, there's a question, would you be interested in participating in these? If so, what topics do you want to see? What time of day would you like it to be hosted? Just so we can, best help you guys. So that'll be in the chat box here just in a minute once I'm done. So onto the actual report, we currently have 9 candidates that are virtually student teaching at the moment. So everybody is either doing some form of remote instruction or, well, they're all doing some form of remote instruction for their schools. We also have 1 grad student and 2 alternative folks that are certifying at the moment. We have worked with the Department of Ed, and our students will, as long as they meet certain criteria, will be certified as long as they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So there's been some amendments to their typical responsibilities, obviously, but they are on track and they will be graduating once they meet those requirements. We have 8 candidates that are coming up next year, and some of you have probably seen a few of them visiting your schools looking for student placement or student teaching placements. We'll be meeting with those folks next week to determine where those placements are going to be. We have 20 candidates in the PSU Ag Ed 22 and 19 in PSU Ag Ed 23. So a good improvement, good numbers coming in there. We also see a little bit more male students entering the field, which is good as well. Dr. Foster is going to be taking a year sabbatical here starting in August. So I'm not exactly sure what all he's going to be working on, and you guys can ask him those questions. We also are continuing to work with CDE and LEE chairs to help you guys virtually with any of the CDEs and LDEs we can. We still have our students, our Avengers are still going to be working. They're still going to be available to help you guys out with judging and things like that. New for the center coming soon is a new online directory. Some of you are probably familiar with the old online directory. It's with FileMaker. It's hard on our end to use. It's hard for us to update the information. And so we're switching over to something with Microsoft. I'm not sure if it's Excel or if it's the other higher powered Access, Microsoft Access, I think is the other one. So also that's going to be coming out to you guys soon is the needs assessment. And this will help us develop our 2021 and 2022 themes. So if you remember, we had ag business as our theme this year. We have biotechnology moving forward for next year. So that needs assessment that's going to be coming out will help us determine, again, how we can best help you guys with your teaching needs. So on here, we have upcoming PD opportunities. When we sent this out, we had some PDs scheduled, obviously, for June and May and even April. Those are all being postponed at the moment. We're working to figure out alternative ways of delivering this information, whether it's going to be virtually, if it's going to be postponed, but the information will be forthcoming on those. And then last but not least is the fiscal year 1920 PD impact. I just emailed this to Darla because I realized it wasn't part of the packet. The general, the big takeaway from this is that for the past year, we've had 396 participants utilizing the PDs that we've offered, and that has totaled up to 190 hours of Act 48 credit. So there's obviously some PDs that have not qualified for Act 48 credit, and you'll be able to see, if Darla can email that out to everybody, the variety of PDs that we've offered. Some have been web-based, some have been in person, some are new and beginning. There's just kind of a variety. So, any questions? Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you so much. So next on to Mr. Brammer to hear about the Pennsylvania FFA Association.
Thanks, Hannah. I am here. Gosh, where do I start? Let me just start with saying thank you. Thank you to each of you for what you're doing. I know that these are trying times for all of us, but most importantly, I think for each of you that's on this call and what you guys are doing every day and trying to see your students and trying to be with your students. My heart goes out to you and my hat goes off to you at the same time for what you're trying to do. Just a couple of quick updates and then I'll let you guys keep moving. Obviously with the Legislative Leadership Conference being canceled, I just wanted to share with you that we will be, for those that had actually paid the registration fee, we will actually be reimbursing those fees back out to the chapters. With nobody being in the schools right now, I have not sent those checks out. I didn't figure it was probably a good idea to do that until we at least have somebody at the schools to get the mail. But just know that if you paid the fees for the State Legislative Leadership Conference, you will be getting refunds for that. Tonight at 7 o'clock, we're going to be conducting our very first SOX meeting, State Officer Candidacy School, virtually. I'm excited that we've got 16 from the Northern Region actually signed up to be a part of that. If you haven't had a chance to see the emails that I sent out in regards to that, students had to go online and actually sign up on a Google form. And then once they signed up, we were verifying memberships to make sure that they were on a roster so that we don't get people in that just happen to run across it on social media or whatever. So we're trying to keep it as secure as possible. Once we determined that they were actually members, then I personally sent them emails with connection statuses and how to get on to the Zoom call tonight. So 2 of our officers will be conducting that tonight at 7 o'clock. I know a couple of the teachers that are actually on this call have signed up to be on it as well. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. If anybody else wants to do that, just shoot me a note and I'll make sure that you have the connection information so that you can join us on another Zoom call. As far as everything else that's happening, stay tuned. The board is meeting again tomorrow. As Casey mentioned to you earlier, the board's been meeting every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. I know Doug Brown's on this particular call and can talk a little bit more about it if he wishes. But some hard decisions, I'm sure, are coming tomorrow. And until the board actually takes some action on some of those items, we're just going to kind of leave it at that. But I think everybody's pretty much aware and knows, you know, kind of what's coming, because we just don't know how to do some of the stuff that that we've been doing in the past. Doesn't mean that we can't still do something. So stay tuned and we'll get you more information as quickly as we possibly can. So thanks, Hannah. Thanks,
Mr. Brimmer. Appreciate the update. I think we're all interested to see what happens. Unfortunately, these are uncharted times, making things difficult. Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have the PAFA alumni report. I am not 100% sure who has that. I don't have a report, so if anyone from that would like to speak, now is a great time. Okay. All right, so then as long as there is not any objection, we'll move on. Okay, so I don't think Ms. Sparks is on this call right now, so we'll look at the report that she submitted. For Farm Show, it was the highest gross to date, so they had a great sale there, 130,000. Thank you to all the chapters who participated, and they're always looking for more people. So when that time comes around, if you can figure out how to finagle that, and if you're close enough and you can help out with the rodeo or the pizza, I'm sure that they would appreciate that. But looks like sales are growing, which is awesome. Leadership campaign, total dollars raised, 78,300. Currently working with donors to determine how to handle funds that were raised for SLC. So what to do with those now. They could be reimbursed, redesignated, or invested. For CDE and golf solicitation, all solicitations are on hold until at least April 15th. Unfortunately, there's no tax implications. The company gives a donation and then a reimbursement occurs because of the event being canceled. The statewide raffle fundraiser, they have new dates from July 16th to Farm Show. So they're going to do the Kubota raffle again. So be ready and get your kids ready to get some of those tickets to try and sell and raise some money. If a chapter has an event where you'd like to have the Kubota on site, let them know if you think you could sell some more if it was there. For Ag Progress Days, sign up to help with concessions. The signups will come out in May. Ag Progress Days is a week earlier this year, so make sure you have that on your calendar. We're going to hopefully allow more FFA members to attend this event and maybe even volunteer for a shift. There's been very positive fundraising for the foundation there. And then they have some very important dates out there. So State Officer Foundation Training is July 2nd. The golf outing is July 16th. Ag Progress Day concessions are August 11th to the 13th. And then the raffle ticket sales, just like I said, would be July 16th to Farm Show. All right. Next, we have the PA Ag Ed Commission. I believe Mr. Shealy's on. If you would like to give your report, we would love to hear from you.
I am. Everybody hear me okay? Yes? Okay. So again, I want to echo what Mr. Brammer said, and our thanks in terms of what you folks do day in and day out. And particularly right now when we're in this situation where there's so many of us who really don't know what's coming next. So we are trying to support you by making sure some of the underlying themes in relation to the long-term vision for the Ag Ed system in Pennsylvania get worked on and are, we actually have some progress, you know, as we think about what can we do to shore up the system and provide some additional things that will make it better. So this is a critical time right now for the commission because the annual report that we put together to the governor and the General Assembly is actually due at the end of this month. So we're working on getting that going. We have actually had the commission with the help of, again, a number of your members who have been very good in terms of talking about best practice examples and that kind of thing in testimony to the commission. We have had them in the mix. The commission has seen really a fairly broad group of best practices and has grappled with a number of the problems that are out there in the system. And they spent their time in their December and in their February meeting kind of putting together the list of recommendations that will actually get put into the report. So there's two parts of it. One is to actually update a work plan for the commission from 2020 through 2022. And then a lot of that content will actually go into the report that goes to the General Assembly May 1st. So if I guess to sum it up, and I don't want to take a huge amount of time here, but what I've been saying is I think there's, if you boil it down and you take a look at the recommendations, there's really three themes, you know, that kind of come out of this. And Mr. Brammer and Carol Fay participate in all the staff meetings of the commission and such. So if you have other things to add, please do. But the three things I think are relevance is one, and really that has to do with the extent to which the system is responsive to the industry. So, you know, this connection, we all know that the ag and food industry is one of the top 3 industries in the Commonwealth. The problem is it never is recognized as such. And, you know, so the industry is sitting there, one of the top industries, having huge workforce problems. And in some way or another, we would like to see our system more closely tied, which means really more of an emphasis on things like career pathways. It will also, we'll be talking about ways to hook up programming in high schools with apprenticeship programs, which is sort of the new way that folks are doing that kind of education for adults. And then again, another thing you'll be hearing quite a bit about is occupational advisory committees, making sure that we're getting the input from the businesses in our area that can help us further define our program. So relevance, I think, is one of the issues. There's a bunch of other things we'll be talking about in that. The other part is that there's just this, it's a kind of a surprising, but maybe not so when you think about STEM and the connections that are being built with science in the K through 12 system, but I think is engagement of students at an earlier age. We are hearing just more and more interest in K through 8. We actually have put together a K through 8 task force to begin thinking about programming. We want to make sure that while we talk about that in relation to the formal education system, that we're also including folks from the informal system as well, people who do ag literacy, people who are doing a variety of things through various other groups that are out there. We have, again, a very active K through 8 working group. The other thing that we've been working on, and I think will come to fruition here fairly quickly, is that we've been negotiating for a place for agriculture in the SAS, the SAS system, through the Department of Education. I had a meeting yesterday with several of the gatekeepers, and we worked through a bunch of problems and issues, and I think we have some solutions ready to go. So I'm going to have a follow-up meeting with folks from PAAE, I guess your officers. I think, Darla, it's next week maybe, or the week after next, but we're going to get together to talk about specifically SAS and what we need to do with that, if we like it, if we don't like it, that kind of thing. So engagement is really the second theme. And then the third is, really local leadership. And I think the commission has spoken loud and clear that we want to find a way that we can support local leadership at a variety of levels. We think that this conversation that's happening about the connection of ag to science is a really important one. It's a bigger picture one, but it's one that we need to talk about. So we would like to be involved in kind of promoting that. We'd like to talk about how the structure within local districts and schools affects curriculum, and really if there's any effect of that on the issue of completers. We found statistically that there's issues with the number of people who participate in ag programming and the number of people who complete ag curriculum. We'd like to talk about that and kind of what are the aspects of that. Really more research, more input from you all. A number of your colleagues who are members of the commission have raised questions about what happens to the funding subsidy when it comes down to local levels. Is there any guidance in terms of how that is to be used, and any monitoring of that in any way? It's an issue that it's been the elephant in the room for a long time. So we're going to try to bring that out. We also want to find out a little bit more about Perkins. We know that some of the ag programs in the schools use it, others don't. We want to find out what's going on there. And again, wherever we can, we want to support any kind of initiative to deal with the teacher shortage. We already have worked with PDE in developing vocational certificates for 6 of the SIPs in agriculture. I believe that is moving quickly, and that should be announced sometime soon as well. So we'll have more to come on that. Anyhow, that's kind of the big picture overview. There's lots to do right now. We're getting this documentation done that has to be submitted. And then I think we'll be a little freer to talk about, the big picture things that we want to talk about, but also how do they affect the operation of what you're involved in day in and day out. You are hugely important stakeholders in what the commission does. And we want to make sure that you're fully informed of what's going on. And so again, I appreciate the opportunity to just share today. And I think most of you know where to find me. There was a little bit of a hiccup about 2 weeks ago when I actually got laid off when they cut all the part-time jobs. And then that lasted about 4 days. And our friends actually, believe it or not, at the Department of Education were my advocate and got me back on the payroll. So hopefully I'm here to stay, and we'll get this taken care of as we move into who knows what in the near future, but hopefully some good things in the long term. Thanks so much. And again, thanks for what you do.
Thank you very much for speaking and for coming in. And I don't think any of us were surprised that it's paperwork holding you up. That's definitely one thing as I started teaching that was very crazy. And I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that's what ends up holding you back a little. So we are going to move on to the FFA Regional Coordinator update. I'm not exactly sure who would like to speak on that. I saw Annette was on here. If you would like to take over.
Yep, I'm here, Hannah.
Great.
Not a whole lot to report until after the board meeting tomorrow. Penn College is canceled on us, of course. And if we happen to do public speaking LDEs, we'd have to do them some kind of Zoom. Try to be fair. I'm not great at Zoom, but I'm sure we'll figure it out somehow if we go ahead with it. I've only had 2 of my areas even complete their area LDEs, CCC and the North Branch area did it, and I think Bradford County's working on some Zoom, but other than that, we'd still have to have Sun and Tioga Potter get theirs done. So got a lot of work if we're going to do it. And if the board votes to go ahead with state LDEs, then I guess I'll get a hold of everybody with regional. But other than that, there's not a whole lot for me to report. Okay.
Understandable. Thank you so much, though, for coming and staying. We're all curious to see what's gonna become. So with that, we're gonna move on to Membership Services Committee, unless anybody else has anything for what we've covered. Okay, wonderful. I don't believe that Megan Spires is on here or Stephanie Ballmer, but the Membership Services Committee is hosting the 4th annual Run Across PA Challenge. And what is a better time than right now to do that? So find some people, make a team. You can have a team up to 5 members. Registration ends in 2 days. So figure out those people fast. There's prizes for the top team, but also the top individuals. So even if your team members didn't quite make it to your level, you could still possibly win. So make sure you do that. And now's the best time. Everybody needs to get out and go move around a little, even if it's a walk every day. Mr. Foster, or Dr. Foster is very excited about that. So we will move on to the marketing committee. I believe Ms. Alfer is on here. If you would like to take it over.
Yeah, you're so encouraging. I just want to go run a mile right now. Just kidding. Not really. Okay. So Robin Bechtel is the real MVP of this committee. She does an awesome job. So it's kind of exciting. We actually made a little bit of money. And to clarify, we don't try to make a lot of money on our apparel, but we normally go up the $1 or something on that. So we made about $56 from the polos and things like that. And then did really well on the pins. I don't know if any of you guys got some, but they look really, really nice. We also purchased stickers to pass out as the thank you, which you should have gotten at ACES if you are a PAAE member. And there are extras, so if you would like one, they're $1 pop, and you can email Robin, Megan, or Janae for those. And then also there is one team of individuals who did the member recruitment. And so Robin is going to be contacting them to give them their Amazon gift card, etc. But we're continuing to figure out ways to encourage people to get more PAAE members. So if you guys ever have ideas or you want something in particular for apparel, just let me or Robin know and we can work on that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. On to Strategic Planning Committee, Mr. Steinfeld. Oh, or Nate.
Oh, it doesn't matter. The strategic planning, is that what we're on here?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're looking at, I guess, is to just continue on doing what we've been kind of focused on since the conference last summer, which was trying to recruit more PAAE members, and then also just making sure that we're meeting everybody's needs for professional development, and also just trying to, I guess, get more camaraderie in the association, making sure that we're getting out there and seeing everybody and trying to make everything go a little smoother. All of the committees have been working really good, and I think we're well on our way to getting some of the goals that we wanted to try to reach this last summer when we started setting this up. So that's all I really have.
Awesome, thank you. So then we'll move on to Public Policy Committee. Some important things there, and I don't think I saw Laura and Megan on. So I'll go over this with you. So we all did a survey, hopefully did a survey, a needs assessment to basically determine what do we want to look at in the legislative priorities. What do we want our priorities to be as a group, which is hard sometimes to be unified. So they gave us lots of options. You can see this chart here that the first 3 things are all about, our programs, program approval process, consistency, state reimbursement, where are they going? Basically, and how are they staying in the program because they're not earmarked for it. as of right now, at least not for my school. And then articulation agreements. So basically they're going to take these results and they're going to use these to start advocating, basically. And they even included, there's a new form that they're using to submit specific issues. So basically they want to kind of streamline and make a more professional way for any member of PAAE to voice their opinion, to bring forward any issues. So they now have a new form that they're going to use. The committee would like to evaluate grassroots concerns each spring, and then they're going to organize those concerns by theme and allow voting for the top priorities at the fall regional meetings. Top priorities will be shared with stakeholder groups by PAAE leadership. So it kind of unifies us and, you know, makes us look better as a group, because then we all understand what our priorities are right now. So please use a submission form. You can see it right there. It's also in the appendix. At any point in time, specifically, I think they're looking for them in the next week for the first round to go through and do those. And then they get evaluated in the spring and decided in the fall.
And Hannah, can I just jump in here quickly?
Sure, yeah.
Yep. So all of the priority areas that you saw listed there, I had a presentation at the Ag Ed Commission back in December, and I reviewed heavily the top 5 and went through and said, this came directly from our membership. These are the priority areas. Here was our response rate, etc. And then also provided kind of like some strategies to overcome these challenges. And it went on record in like the minutes for the commission. Deputy Secretary STEM was there from the Department of Education. Russell Redding was there, and the commissioners, obviously. So they did hear those concerns that directly came from PAAE members. So I guess what we're trying to start here with this policy submission is kind of the similar method that Farm Bureau uses to get policy from their members, and then to streamline it and make sure that the entire state is on the same page before policy issues are presented for that coming school year. So that's kind of what we're trying to replicate. And instead of just, this is a concern this week, like let's go complain about this. That way it's kind of like a thoughtful process that we've gone through and whittled it down to what are the top priorities for a certain time period. So that's what we're trying to create and streamline. But please know that the commission did see those concerns that the Public Policy Committee had gathered.
Awesome. That seems great. So if you guys have those, please fill them out. So we'll move on to policy and bylaws. And I don't think I saw Carly or Neil on here. If you guys are here, just let me know. But as of right now, they're still revising the bylaws and policy manual, which is, I'm sure, no small feat. And the committee plans on presenting draft copies of these at the summer conference with the goal of discussions at the summer conference, business sessions, so that we can all get our hands on them and kind of see what changes have been made and what we like and don't like. Next, the Finance Committee report. If Adam or George is on here, please let me know. During the January meeting, PAAE board authorized a movement of $500 from NAAE delegates to a new line item called the Three Circle Summit. This money is going to be utilized to pay the PAAE president to attend the Three Circle Summit. The board plans to keep the PAAE Three Circle Summit a line item in the budget for the 2020-2021 budget. We believe IRS audit is close to final, with back taxes and fees going to an end. The board is planning to add a line item in our new year budget for in order to pay these fees in back taxes that are owed to the IRS. So we're already planning for that, or they're already planning for that. Penn State University is going to pay $3,500 to PAAE for the summer conference. PAAE will then write a letter of request to PSU for the funds. PAAE budget for 2020-2021 was approved at the March meeting. No funds will be pulled from the reserves to balance the budget. No funding was allocated for a lobbyist at this time. All right. Cool. So then we're going to move on to professional growth, unless there's anything for finance. So Professional Growth Committee, which is super exciting. Congratulations to all these wonderful people. The Teacher Turn the Key recipient will be Miss Allison Balmer. Outstanding Early Career will be Miss Janae McMichael. Outstanding Teacher, Miss Holly Opelholter. Teacher Mentor, Mr. Mark Anderson. Outstanding Middle School or Secondary Program is Elizabeth Area. Outstanding Cooperation, Penn State Center for Professional Personnel Development. And the Outstanding Service Citation will be Miss Sarah Beth Bolton. So congratulations to all of you. And those of you that I believe all of them are NWE as well, good luck. Division winners need to submit their online applications by June 1st. So if you are one of those people, make sure you get those submitted. All right, on to standing special committees. So we will start off with the conference committee, and I saw that Melanie was on here. If you would like to go ahead and give the update.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been meeting regularly to talk about the conference the past few months, and we've had some great positive success. John Seaman has been doing an excellent job from the center, really taking the workshop portion of the conference and developing it nicely. Unfortunately, everything is on hold right now, so we were initially going to try to have a April 1st release of all of that material, and everything really is ready to go with all that. But we're going to be meeting again mid-April to reassess that. And we kind of came to the conclusion that without schools being able to do purchasing and things like that, that would cause a lot of difficulty for people to be able to register. So we looked at the possibility and already spoke with the PAAE board about if it ends up not being possible this year, that we would just refocus and we would use the same different opportunities to have the conference at Wellsboro next year. So instead of having the conference move on to another region, it would be here in Wellsboro, and we would go through the planning stages again, but already have a lot of different things planned out. So we would have less work and would just go forward with there. I think I covered it. If anyone else has anything else to share with that, you certainly chime in.
I think that about covers it, Melanie.
Thank you. All right, Scholarship Committee, Mr. Brown, are you on? Maybe not. All right, so Scholarship Committee,
Hannah, Doug's on. He's just trying to unmute.
Oh my goodness. I thought he was on. I could have swore.
Yeah. Are we good?
Yes, please go. I can't hear you if you're trying to talk. Hey Doug, I'm not sure if you wanted to say something, but I think you're muted right now. So if you want to unmute and tell us about scholarship. Oh,
We good now?
yes.
Okay. We're back and forth there a little bit. Yeah, scholarship wise, you know, we've moved forward. I emailed everything to Dr. Curry back here at Christmas time and Dr. Ewing for that to occur. And that's where we are. And it's in their hands with a May 15th deadline to get those scholarships back to us. And then we go from there. You know, we have about $3,000 in our scholarship checking account, and we have $30,000 in savings. So, You know, financially, we're very strong. That's not going to be an issue. We'll just see what we get in, see the quality of applications we get in, and we go from there.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I see on our agenda, it says mentoring PSU, Dr. Curry, Foster, and Ewing. Anything to add?
No.
Perfect. Moving on to the Sunshine Committee. Kayla.
Hey.
Hi.
So I am going to share this link out that the Sunshine Committee uses. I am a little bit behind. There's a couple that I'm going to use this extra time that we all have now to get some things out in the mail, because mail is still going, even though there's not a lot of other things happening. But the link is in the chat box if people want to use it. It's also on the PAAE website. If anyone is interested in helping with that in the future, would be glad to have that in the future. So that's the update that I have.
Perfect, thank you. And make sure you use those. I think almost every year we still had some money left for that. So if you guys have anybody that's in need, going through a rough time, maybe now's a really good time to reach out if you know somebody's struggling. Okay, so I believe we're moving on to unfinished business, unless anybody has anything else.
Before we go to unfinished business, just want everybody hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Just want to let you know that Nate and I have been working as your representatives with the FFA board. It has not been easy to do many of these decisions. We spent hours with SLC. And then, of course, that decision was made for us by the governor, which was a good call. These meetings have been very trying. These meetings have gone without a lot of research. These meetings have gone with a lot of work behind the scenes. We are going to try to do what we need to do that's best for everybody. This meeting tomorrow will not be fun. There's been a lot of conversation, discussions, side groups, sidebars, call it what you want. But it's a difficult time. It's a difficult time for not only the missed opportunities, possibly for some kids. We know it's going to look different. We're well aware of that. But it's also difficult for the chairs. It's difficult for the folks that don't chair these events and don't understand why we could or couldn't do it. A lot of time's gone into this, and we appreciate the opportunity to represent the Northern Region in this, and we take pride in that. It's just been very trying times for sure. We've never been down this road before. And one of the things I said 2 weeks ago was that whatever we do, we don't want to knee jerk to any of it. We want to make sure that whatever we do, we're going to set some precedent for the next time this occurs, because unfortunately it will. And we have to learn through this time. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Nate and I will do the best we can to represent you as voting members. Annette sits on there with us as well. We've all had conversations. So we're going to try to move forward. I know it's not a PAAE thing, but it is something that is involved with the AgEd family.
Thank you so much for that. I know that I am not worried in the least that you guys will do the best you can to look out for everyone, and that you guys, you do have the kids' best interest, our best interest, and everybody's best interest. And I can only imagine what it's like making those decisions. I was just talking to some teachers the other day, and I wouldn't want to be an administrator, and I wouldn't want to be a person in charge of anything right now, because that is some tough decisions to have to make. So we appreciate that you're doing that. And I know it's going to be an unfun meeting at 8 a.m. in the morning, but it's important. We appreciate it.
Doug, I'd like to share a comment. That's okay. May I have permission to speak?
Yeah, of course.
As y'all go forward in all of these tasks, I think it's really important that and I know you are, but I just would want to share this and amplify that we keep in mind the need that we don't have to be perfect. And it's not the end of the world if some of these things don't happen. And I'm really worried, if I share bluntly, with the many conversations in many groups and many functions that we've been approached by. Because of the fact we've done an online conference for 6 years, the past 3 weeks have been extremely busy. And the first question I usually ask them, yes, we can, but I don't know if we should. Because what is happening right now in America today is that each and every one of us, uniquely and separately, have what I'm calling a 20% emotional and mental tax occurring that we can't even define or label because of unknown variables. Things that, I mean, it's very hard to quantify. And so, I mean, I have been coaching myself every morning of like empathy and grace toward everybody, for everything, for every email, for every interaction, for every communication, because I just think everybody's wearing close to the bone for different reasons, if you will. It's a toll on there. And when we're wearing close to the bone and when we're in these situations, just because we can doesn't mean that we should. And is that truly the best call to push a profession in a certain way to pull off something? And so I know y'all consider all the facts and data as you go through it, but I guess sometimes we need permission to say it's okay. And I've watched groups not want to make the hard decision, not want to cancel or stop doing something. And then when somebody else cancels it for them and they can't do it, see the weight lift off their shoulders and relax because they know that was the right thing to do and they feel better immediately afterwards. So I just want to make sure that we appreciate your service and that it's okay to say that it's not perfect and that everything doesn't have to happen. I truly believe in education that just like I've used this example several times, we've had a paradigm shifting moment, a black swan moment. And just like we never have flown in the air again the same after 9/11, I do not know what the take your shoes off to get on the airplane is going to be, but I truly do believe that we will not conduct education like we've always done going forward at any level. It has been a paradigm shift. I don't know exactly what it is. Don't ask me to quantify that. I just think that the game has shifted on us. So that's enough. I'm sorry. See, you never let me talk.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I mean, it's never hurts. And that's, it's hard to make those decisions. I can only imagine.
Well, and Hannah, I'll maybe bring it back to a lighter topic here. I want to go back to membership for a second, if you don't mind.
Of course, yes.
Now my kids are under control. With membership, I do have to submit a couple individuals from the month of March, but kind of on a good note here, this is something I'm kind of excited for next year. Those of you that utilize the Ag Ed magazine, they are going all digital as of July 1, and it's all going to be free. So in the past, you paid either like $10, $12, or $15 for the Ag Ed magazine. So that's going to be all eliminated. Everyone has access digitally to the Ag Ed magazine for next year for membership. So we will do an update to like our membership form to reflect that for next year. So with membership, once again, I have like 3 individuals to submit for this month of March here. I'll put an updated roster on the website and just let me know if there's any issues, if I've made any mistakes and anything needs to be corrected. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Anything? And Doug and Nate, I don't know if you can, and if you cannot, absolutely feel free to say no. But I have been asked, would you share how you're going to vote tomorrow? And if not, that is completely fine.
At this point, I'm not quite sure what direction we're going. I know, 19 of the 35 CDEs, LDs, I talk about data. I waited a long time last Friday to speak. But then I took the opportunity to occupy the floor for about 15 minutes. And I apologize to the board for that, but I did it purposely. I sat and I listened for 40 minutes of the do's and the don'ts and what we can do and what we can't do. Knowing that the creed that I chair is one of the 4 events that can go 100% virtual. I'm aware of that. I've done it myself. I've done it with Dr. Foster, with students of mine and Kurt's that went to nationals. We practiced that way. I did it with Dr. Curry's class. I listened to data. I listened to, are we ever going to get back to Penn State? We're not. That will not occur this year. We have changes that occur all throughout this week with state schools doing what they're doing. We've had a lot of research done, some of it by myself, my own research to where are we going to go with this. I've talked to other folks on the board that are representing other regions. I can't say yes or no to that at this point until I hear other folks tomorrow speak their information and their facts. I can go on both sides of the fence, and I know Nate's going to speak to that as well. I can tell you I voted no to send it to the committee. Nate voted, I'll let him say which way he voted, but I voted no. That was a suggestion given to me by a former chair of that committee. That committee is going to come tomorrow with a recommendation that is going to educate all of us on what they came from. We in the board have always said, and Mr. Brammer has led us down that road, we put committees together to listen to what they need to research. And those committees put a lot of time into those researches and the information and the data that they bring. And then many times we just say, great, thanks for the information, and we don't take their consideration. Tomorrow's a time for us to really sit and listen to what that committee talked about yesterday. It's huge. And not vote for or against just because we want to, but because it's the right thing to do for all of us, the industry, the commission, us as ag teachers, the students that we're representing, the state FFA officers, all of that. This is not going to be an easy decision. I can't say yes or no to it at this point, but tomorrow when we gather information, that's kind of how I've been going at these meetings a little bit. Being one of the older members on that board, experienced members on that board, I sit and I listen a lot, and then I wait till the end to make a call. Tomorrow, I'm not going to say that that a trigger needs to be made, but it needs to be made. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which direction we're going. Don't know that yet. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you informed. Nate and I have been on top of it pretty good, and we're working with other folks from the rest of the region. We're all working together on this. So, yep. We appreciate your guys' support, though.
Thank you. And thank you for putting so much time into making sure it's a well-informed decision. Okay. If there isn't anything else, go ahead.
No, just so you asked. I mean, I'm kind of the same way as Doug. I'm going to wait to see tomorrow what the committee comes back with, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to vote yet, but it is tough. We have really limited internet access across the state, and especially in this region. So it's going to be a challenge no matter what. If we try to do anything virtually, it just will. So that's one of the biggest holdups. Plus, we're going to be pretty taxed with our time. So like I said, I'm going to just wait and see what the committee comes up with. I'm really on the fence about it. I hate to take opportunities away from students, especially the ones that are really committed to competition in the FFA, especially the public speaking area. So I hope to not have to do that, but sometimes hard decisions have to be made. So again, that doesn't really help with which way I'm going to vote because I'm not sure yet, but that's my input.
If I can, I didn't do this earlier. I was on with Dr. Foster with the PAAE Pro Power Hour and got to speak with some folks in a breakout room from other parts of the country. They're doing some different things because they're in the same situation. But if you could, for me and Nate, speak a little bit about the PAAE Pro virtual presentation part. That's a hang up for us. I understand the research. I understand the test. I'm not quite sure I have a handle on the virtual presentation. Can you explain that a little bit?
I'd be glad to share. I did do, geez, the days are running together, guys. It seems like my days are defined by 12:30 Central Time is Bold and the Beautiful, and 4:30 is Judge Judy, and those are things I have to get on the TV for Grandmom, and then I work in between those. So these are kind of, so 4 Bold and Beautifuls ago, I think I did a webinar for the national state staff. Mike was on it, and so he can talk to you more. We went through and talked about conducting virtual conventions and gave them a memo on how to do it and all these things. From a career development event, here's what we're running into, Doug. The first idea that came across as an iteration was one where imagining the entire team in the same room at the same time. And that would be something that we could pull off and do a demo. At this point in time, having 7 students at one location at one point is not allowed in some states across the United States of America. We even have states that are issuing edicts. And quite frankly, there's an educational equity issue that I have as I talk about these things, because we have school districts, especially in Penns Woods, especially in Pennsylvania, local control that are making different decisions across the board as far as saying things along the lines of, we do not want any students in the same space on school grounds. They are not allowed. Flat out, I'm going to make a flat ruling, no kids on the grounds. We don't want them doing school events where we could be liable. We do not want them. We have a state, an entire state saying, even if you could do virtual, this is Nebraska, you can't, because we're not going to push families and kids into participating in a thing when everybody can't have equal shot. So when you talk about these things, Doug, like I could draft you and say, okay, we could write up the motion cards. I could hit go, because I mean, I got all these little Zoom tricks and things, and we could pull it off. But especially talking to this region more than any other region, I'm sitting here going, man, the internet and how well is that going to work, and how are we going to pull it off? Are they going to be allowed to be in the same space? And so these equity issues cause me a lot of concern. I hope I answered your question. I feel like I'm starting to drift.
Well, one of the very funny things that came out 2 weeks ago is it being fair and equitable across the board. That's how we started our whole conversation 2 weeks ago. And it will continue to rear its ugly head as it comes. And one of the things that's been talked about was, is it okay for 3,000 members of 13,000, and you're a PAAE Pro guy, so here we go with majority minorities, right? but 3,000 members not having that ability to call the other 10,000 out and say, guess what, we're not doing it. Too bad. That's reared its ugly head. I'm just telling you that. I'm not saying it should have, but it did in some of our conversations. So majority rules. So too bad, so sad. Joey Smith, Northeast Bradford, you don't have internet, you don't have access. You're just not in the CDE this year. Too bad. That's one of the comments. I'm not saying that was my comment. I'm saying that was a comment. I hope you would never think that I would make that comment. I'm also aware that I brought to the table at the very first meeting why Pennsylvania Congress pushed so hard for rural broadband, and why we spent some time on that. And some folks in other parts of the state didn't understand that. And I had some really difficult decisions with some folks during Farm Show Week about why time was spent in Congress on rural broadband, which has been sent on so many other aspects. And here we are. Here we are, right? We're at Central Columbia. We're fine. But I have some kids that struggle, and one of them's on my Parlay Pro team. She can't Zoom. She has internet, but she can't Zoom. So that's why I asked the question with a Parlay Pro team that potentially could be at states. How am I going to do that? How am I when I can't get her to Zoom? That's why I asked that question.
Sure.
As
Well,
a
the coaching
but
that
I
I've
asked-
given some states, like Idaho says you can't have more than 5 kids in a space at a time, so therefore you can't do an event. So the
Right.
coaching I gave them was to turn the event into a demonstration, a knowledge practicum. And so take the concept, you have a test, take the team problem solving, make it individual problem solving. The entire thing to determine your champion will be done as a knowledge base. And then the new thing you do when you get to nationals will be the debating and presentation. So I tried to give them an answer so that I'm not just sharing my belief on it because, okay, this is what you can do. Once again, remember how I preface everything. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, but this is what you could do.
Right. And I just want to have a little bit of an idea that way. But I also want to let you guys know that conversation came up, and a lot of folks in populous areas just really couldn't understand the internet issue, why that's an issue. But it is. I mean, there's no question. So there's going to be lots of decisions that are going to have to be made. And some of them, and Mr. Brammer can refer to this, and Nate can back me up on this one. One of the comments I made last week was, I don't want anybody, because I'm not a confrontational person. I'm competitive, but not confrontational. But if I have to be, we will, is I don't want anybody complaining one way or the other what decision this board made in unprecedented times. That just, I put that out there for record last week. This is not easy, not easy at all. I mean, I got some great kids. Kurt and I have some great kids at Central Columbia that are ready to do whatever we need to do or not do anything. They're well aware of it. We've talked about it for 3 weeks now. So
Well, I think that it is a time for creativity. And as y'all go forward and working with a lot of different other groups, it's very powerful when a board that makes such a significant decision can say through a unanimous decision that all in, we've talked through this and we think this is what's best for the membership. And I know that's hard to reach, but I would challenge the board tomorrow to get this to a point where it's not an up or down vote, and rather it is a unanimous consent that this is the only path forward for the well-being of our students and the organization. And I know that's going to be tough, but at least bring it up and have that conversation of, can we not present a unified vision as a board that we're together on trying to do what is best going forward?
We will.
All right, thank you both. Okay, moving on, we're gonna hit unfinished business unless there's anything else. All right, unfinished business. There's been reposting of the PAAE executive secretary position. Darla said that she didn't shorten it, but she kind of put it all together so that it's not quite as intimidating. I believe we have some people interested in that. Otherwise, I think we can move on past that unless there's something I'm missing. Okay, we'll move on to new business. Oh, thank you, Mr. Bremer. Have a wonderful SOX meeting. New business, president-elect candidates, complete the MOU, which is in the appendix, and return it to PAAE president by June 1st. So we're interested or looking for a president-elect candidate. I know it's been mentioned before that maybe one of the VPs would step up into that role because they know what's happening on the board at the moment. Not a requirement, but probably something to think about. So look into that if you are interested. Next, elections of regional vice presidents. So each one has a different one to go through. I am actually up. This is the end of my term for 2020. I will not be able to do a second term, unfortunately. So we will be looking for somebody to do that. Not exactly sure the best way to vote on here, but I know that we normally take nominations. So at this point, are there any nominations for Northern Region vice presidents?
Your term ends when, Hannah?
I think this meeting is technically my last meeting.
This is your last official meeting?
So yes. Okay. Well, it ends at summer conference. Sorry. So it doesn't end until summer conference. So what's going to happen is Dave and I, because Dave, I believe, is coming up soon as well, we'll be reaching out to some people and seeing if we can't get some people on board. I have very much enjoyed being the vice president of our region, and I would highly encourage that to anybody, especially if you haven't done it before, because I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. So if you are interested in that, that would be awesome.
So kind of what you're saying is, if we don't have the summer conference, you're actually good till next year.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Good call, Doug. Good call.
That was smooth. That was very smooth.
No loophole there. Might as well take it.
I'd have to read the bylaws. Most of them are written to say that you serve until your successor is elected. FYI, that's usually something that we build in.
Gotcha.
The Parley Pro comes in again. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. So I wasn't going to mention this, but I am applying at my home chapter. So if I do get hired there, I won't be in the Northern Region anymore. If I do not get hired there, I will continue being a VP if nobody else would like
once,
that.
Once from the North, always from the North. Long live the North.
I do love the North so much. That's the only downside, but I would be much closer to family, and that's really you carry a guilt when you move away. So I'm ready to get over some of that. But if anyone is interested, if not, I'm going to start reaching out to some people that Dave and I have talked about before. Oh no, Dave's mad at me. So with that, we'll move on. Current need of members. So how can PAAE support you? And what can we do up until the end of the school year? Is there something that you need that you feel like we could fill, we could help with? All right, hearing none, great. If you do have anything, of course, reach out to Dave and I. You can reach out to any of your presidents, anything that you need. It's crazy times, but if you feel like you could help somebody, maybe put in for the Sunshine Committee, and for the goodness gracious, sign up for the Run Across PA thing. Everybody needs that. Other than that, we need to pick a fall meeting date and location, probably Haas's, but a date for the fall meeting. Any suggestions? When was our last one?
Usually the first Thursday of October.
Last year it was October 10th.
All right, so let's hear a suggestion for October 8th, which is well, technically the second Thursday, I guess. Anybody object to October 8th?
What? Yeah, is that what Thursday is that?
That's technically the second
one. Okay.
Thursday in October. The first Thursday is the first, which I figured was.
Yeah, that's okay. Yep.
I see Melanie's comment. I will share with you guys that either doing online or doing face-to-face can work. But when you mix, it gets really hard because someone has to monitor that online version. It can be done, but just know that if as a region you wanted to set this up, it would take some bandwidth and planning to make sure. I'm trying to get to my calendar to look for October the 8th to see if there's anything big on it that you guys might be interested in.
The October 8th day actually works pretty well because if we go with October 1st, we're still with the Bloomsburg Fair.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, we don't want to run into fair time.
So our fair is not over till that Saturday, October 3rd. It's later this year. So actually the 8th would be better for Kurt and I and Kelly and Mike and, folks in our area here.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody else have objections to the 8th? If not, we'll do that tentatively unless something else pops up. And I do think that adding Zoom would be awesome. I actually thought that whenever we got on here, because some people have to drive so far, like poor Kayla Hack, who Haas's night is probably super rough for the next Friday that she has to go to school. So
It doesn't count though. If Kayla doesn't have a voice, if she's not going to show her camera. So sitting back there behind the camera, she no voice. She doesn't exist. Just words.
Easy now. Don't pick on her.
Wayne County is really far from everywhere else. I am deep in the Northeast.
Very good. Okay. With that, is there anything else that anybody would like to speak upon, elaborate on, or ask questions about?
I will stay on this call to talk to anybody that needs any help for anything if you want to pitch ideas. And if you're having to do a lot of Zoom, I can show you some things if you're interested. But don't feel like you have to stay. But I want to make sure that I'm available to you.
Yeah, I love all you guys with the backgrounds. I tried to put one in, but it started getting all messed up.
Hannah,
Okay.
do you recognize that picture? That's the wall. Game of Thrones? Come on. The North? All right.
Your dork is showing, Dr. Foster.
That's big.
All right. Everybody else have a wonderful night. I hope you enjoy it. It's not that bad outside, so enjoy. Thanks so much for coming. Making history.
Hey, Hannah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah.
Did I miss the meeting or are we starting a meeting?
We're ending the meeting, and the meeting is done, Tom.